Hey everyone, this is Sean from Make Them Suffer, and you're watching our interview on CoreMusicTV. I think I first started doing vocals when I was 16 years old, which it's easy to count because I was born in 1990, so that would have been 2006. I remember practicing pig squeals at the back of the classroom in high school, and everyone used to make fun of me for it, but that's all right, I won't hold it against them. Yeah, I remember when I told my parents that I was going to be joining a band, I think they were quite reluctant at first. They didn't know how far I was going to take it or whatever. I mean, they were kind of supportive, but as it continued, their support dwindled a little bit, and then when it started to become more successful, they started to support me a bit more again, so yeah. Yes, well actually before Heather we had a keyboardist called Win, and he was just like a friend of ours. We basically formed it as, I tried out for the band actually. I was Make Them Suffer's first vocalist, but I had to do a tryout, and after 3 separate attempts of trying out, they finally accepted their fate and invited me to the band. But at that stage we did have keyboards in the band at the very start, so I'd say it's always been a pretty integral part of the sound. Now I think the guitar has been developed a little more. I think in the old days the keyboard took more of a lead role in our music, and I think now we've got more kind of riffs on the guitar, and the keyboards add kind of more textural elements in our sound, but it's always been a pretty core component of our sound, for sure. I think as we I think when we first started, we were just excited to record songs, full stop, and kind of anything that was within the realm of our taste was something that we were interested in doing. Anything that was in the realm of our taste was something we were interested in doing when we first started the band, and I think as our taste progressed, and I think we kind of, honed in on what our X factor was, which was the keyboard that sort of like separated us from a lot of bands of our genre at the time. I think we were able to hone our focus more into like a bit more of a refined sound, which was at that time more of a blackened symphonic sound or whatever. I would say I've always used the same technique, and I've just kind of improved and got better at my breathing and sort of the amount of air that I'm expelling per scream, sort of more control, I suppose. And with more control, you can kind of shape the sound a little more. But I'd say that the technique that I've been using has always been the same since the get-go. And yeah, a little bit on that Never Bloom, you say the vocals never stop. I've since tried to write stuff that's a little bit more easier to sing live, because 7 minutes of just non-stop lyrics, like new Sean hates old Sean for trying to write as many words as possible in like 7 minutes. But that was kind of like the point of that album, I think, and the point of that sound was to have a very like lyrically dense album that told a bit of a story, and yeah, it's a work that I stand behind for sure. I'm not going to say that we're not going to perform other albums in full. I don't want to write off that possibility. Right now, we're in a period of growth, I would say, and we're kind of in a position where, like, if we're offered an incredible tour slot like this one that we're on, we kind of just have to take that, and then it's like our year fills up very quickly. Having said that, I do really like the idea of playing like an album in full from start to finish. I think it's a little sad the way that the music scene with Spotify and waterfall single releases and stuff, it's kind of detracted. It's taken us away from the album as a listening experience, and I think there is something really cool about listening to an album from start to finish. and certainly in a live setting, you know, you get really an idea or a taste of like where a band was at that time in their lives when they were recording, because that's what a record is. It's a recording of that. It's a record of that period of time. You know what I mean? So yeah, I think it's always cool to revisit and something I'd be interested to do in the future. It's totally contextual as to what the backdrop of the songs are. Like if the riffs and the instrumentation feels like it takes place in a forest in the Lord of War universe or something like that, then I'm just going to go back and write more lyrics like that. But I think whatever I'm writing as lyrics over the top of the music is just purely there to accompany the music. In some way the music comes first before anything. And it just so happens that all of our albums to me have had a very different kind of soundscape from one another, and I've always felt that the vocals are there to kind of like bring to life those soundscapes in a way. The idea to put Morse code into Vortex, that is a tough one. I don't know really. If I had to be honest, I just wanted the idea of the vocal came to me just barking along with the music basically, and then it was more like kind of an afterthought, if I'm going to be honest. Like, what is that in some like Morse code or whatever? And I looked into it and I was like, oh well, that would be cool. It kind of ties in with the theme of the rest of the lyrics, and yeah, to me, I just, you know, it just the rhythm of it just kind of made a lot of sense to me, and I just wanted to really highlight or accent the riff that was underneath it, which is kind of always my goal in vocals, is to bring the riffs and the music to life, as I've just kind of said. So yeah, the Morse code element was kind of an afterthought, but I really just wanted to bark along to the music. That was the fun part for me. So I was very, that was a really tough tour. I think in retrospect, I was very new to doing vocals in a full-time touring capacity at that point. My voice was completely gone, but I think basically I sat out a whole bunch of shows. I sat out basically like a week's worth of shows, and every show I would walk on stage and have to say to the crowd, hey everyone, I'm sorry my voice is gone. The rest of the band are here to perform an instrumental set. And then they would just do that. And it was, I remember the first time I said that to a crowd, so I heard someone literally yell out, what the fuck? I was so upset. So it was always super embarrassing for me to have to do that. I think in retrospect, I would have just gone up there. I think if I was to do it all again, I would just go up there and sing a really bad set instead of making the band do it all instrumental. But I was learning the range and capabilities of my vocals, and I certainly didn't want to do any long-term damage or damage my throat in any sort of severe way, so I played it safe. Now I've kind of I know the parameters of my voice, I know how far I can push myself. I sing bad shows all the time. Once per tour, most vocalists will often get sick, and they can have periods of their voice going, and for whatever reason I can always push through the show. So these days I'll just play a bad show. It's all right. At the juncture we were at when Booker parted ways with Make Them Suffer, I think it was right around the time of COVID, and we'd had to cancel a tour halfway through because of the pandemic. The album release was didn't go according to plan. Like the physical copies of the vinyls came out like a month or so after the digital release, which severely impacted album sales and first week sales and all that sort of stuff. So in the eyes of the industry, it was probably seen as a flop. And then we just lost a key member, one that we had replaced before. So it was pretty tough to kind of pick ourselves up from that. I think what kept us going really was we played a festival in Australia called Full Tilt Festival, which we were just going to play as, you know, almost like a farewell show in a way. And it was seeing how much people were excited for us to come back when we performed, and just like how much love we were getting from the community in Australia and all our friends, and just our support network in general, that pushed us to continue. Yeah, I think we lost sight of how important playing a show is to making you feel like you're achieving something when you're in a band. You know what I mean? If all you ever did was sit indoors and write music, and never actually get to see the look on people's faces when you play them the songs, I think it would be a much less rewarding pursuit. So yeah, it's the fans that kind of kept us going in that moment, I think. Well, it's just basically, you know, we all had a lot more free time during the pandemic, and that's how Onslow came to be. I still catch up with Scott, who's the other like main member of Onslow regularly. We play Magic the Gathering together on a weekly basis, so cool to hang out with him a lot. But you know, he plays in a band called Voyager. They're quite busy. You know, Make Them Suffer has been touring non-stop for a long time now, it feels, and any kind of semblance of creative juices I'm funneling into Make Them Suffer at the moment. I just feel like we're kind of on a pretty good path at the moment. We've got a good trajectory going, and I just want to see how far we can push this. If the band ever slows down for a year or two, I've definitely written some Onslow stuff, don't get me wrong, but yeah, it's sort of it's a hobby project, so it's not something that I'm super in a rush to complete while Make Them Suffer is going full steam ahead, you know what I mean? So yeah. That's really tough. Gandalf's always got to be my favourite character. I mean, either him or Sam are obviously the two heroes of the film. People say Sam is the unsung hero, but I think his praises, I mean, everyone knows Sam's the GOAT, so yeah, either Sam or Gandalf probably. We've been writing a lot of music, and we have some US festivals that we're going to go and play in June this year, and around that time we're going to be entering into the studio to record our 6th album, I think, maybe. So yeah, that's super exciting. We've never been this prepared and for an album, I don't think, and we've also never had such a clear vision of how we want everything to be represented in terms of the visuals and the story and the song, the context of the songs, and what we want sort of the message of the songs and the album to be about. So I think we've got a really clear direction for this next one. So we'll be hitting the studio in around June-ish maybe in the States, and then to my knowledge we actually have the majority of we're playing with Motionless and White in Australia, but then after that that's only 3 shows, and then I think for the second half of the year we've actually got like a full 6 months off or something like that. So maybe I'll get some Onslow stuff done, or maybe I'm sure a lot of that'll be a big planning period for, you know, all the stuff that coincides with an album release, music videos, etc. And mostly just hopefully relaxing.